This 911 Strong podcast is brought to you by our partners at the Police Credit Union of California.
As a financial institution founded by law enforcement for law enforcement and their families over 65 years ago, they have the experience and understanding to help you with all your financial needs,
including exclusive products designed specifically for law enforcement professionals. To become a member today, visit thepolicecu.org. That's the police, the letter C, and the letter U.org.
Or call 800-222-1391 and tell them you heard about them from the 911 Strong podcast.
Station to all units.
Prepare to copy.
You're listening to the 911 Strong podcast.
Don't act like I never told you.
With Aram and Kristen, bringing you stimulating discussion.
No, I like the sound of that.
An entertaining conversation.
And now, here's Kristen and Aram.
Hey friends, welcome back to the 911 Strong podcast. I am Aram Choe, and unfortunately not with me as always is dispatcher Kristen. That's right, America's favorite dispatcher Kristen actually has to do her job today. She got called into work. So, hey, we're going to make, as they say in this business, the show must go on. And nobody knows this business better than our next guest, my good friend, police lieutenant or commander and comedian, Vinnie Montez.
I thought you were going to forget my name, dude. You're like,
No, I forgot your title.
Oh, that's funny.
You're still commander, right?
Yeah, I'm still commander, man.
What a title. I mean, you got the best of both worlds, right? Because I got warned early in my career when I was starting this social media journey. You got to be serious if you want to promote. You have to make sure that they take you seriously. And here you are, elevated to the rank of commander, and you're a well-known comedian.
Well, that's a great point. I think I don't use the terminology anymore. Back in the day, I've really removed that from my vocabulary because it's so detrimental to the current people that are in the job, and the job is not the same anymore. And I think that my levity and being just me has really actually helped me with my troops, with the trust, and they see me as more of a regular person. And then, comedy is just like a great segue to dealing with people because when you show up and you're the cops, and then all of a sudden, I mean, straight up, dude, one of the best things that's ever happened to me was I showed up on this call to help an outside agency and everybody's being hard. Yeah, whatever. They're filing out of the house. And then this girl looks at me and I'm like, oh man, this is either going to go good or bad. She's like, I know you, dude. I saw you the other night on stage. You're that comic. And I'm like, yeah. And all of a sudden she validates me to the entire group.
Right.
The whole mood softens and she's like, all they could talk about is, so you're a joke, man. I've never met a funny cop before. Well, yeah. And of course, cops, it's always in a serious situation, right?
What's funny is though, behind the scenes, right? Behind public eyes, we're pretty funny people. Like,
yes.
You spend hours in a patrol car with somebody or in the office with somebody or on a team. You guys are somebody's cracking jokes and we're all laughing. We all have a sense of humor, but all of a sudden we expose ourselves to the public and it goes, we're serious. I'm now Vincent Montez. Only my funny friends call me Vinny.
No, I think I think that best example of that, Aram, is the briefing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just everybody's just cutting up and God forbid a regular Joe cop screws up and like crashes their car or leaves their gun on top of their car and it falls off while they drive away. I mean, something like that happens. Yeah. I mean, it is just nonstop ribbing behind the scenes. And I'm actually glad when we have civilian ride-alongs because they get to see that banter behind the scenes.
Right.
But then there's also that dark humor, right? That happens, and I write about that and talk about that in my comedy where like we're on a scene and there's a dead person and all of a sudden we're kind of cracking jokes about the scene in order to kind of deal with what's going on. And people are like, oh my gosh, if they saw that behind the scenes, they'd be like, man, those guys are being inappropriate, but it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
People don't realize how much comedy and humor is used in our job just as a coping mechanism to deal with what we see and deal.
You're absolutely right. I mean, they say one of the best medicines is laughter.
Yeah.
Right? And then other people say some of the best medicine out there is liquor. the healthier of the two is probably laughing, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, like, I'm not going to mention a name or anything, but, they had to put down a raccoon the other day and like this newer officer, he was like really struggling to do with it. So it took him like 45 minutes to do this like simple task. But he walked us all through it in briefing, and he was like having a conversation with the raccoon before he put him down. I'm not even joking.
Hold on. What do you mean put down a raccoon?
Well, like sometimes raccoons, and where I work, we're right in the mountainous area, right on the foothills, and so raccoons get injured for whatever reason. They fall down like a window well, or they get hit by a car, and so you got to go and you got to put them down. We shoot them. Is this something you don't do in the cities?
No, I mean we got raccoons, but when we see them, they're usually roadkill.
Well, yeah, but like this one was like injured, and sometimes they have this thing called distempered. It looks like a little raccoon who's drunk, and they just kind of like stagger down the road. I'm serious. It's called distemper, and so they got to put them down sometimes. And this younger officer, he's only been with us like not even a year, and he's like all feeling bad about it. He's like, "Look, man, I don't really want to do this, but like." He's having this conversation, and then what cracked me up the most is like he took him to this little forest area, and he's like yelling out into the forest, "Is there anybody there? I'm gonna put down this raccoon. Is anybody there?" I just was like,
"Oh, please tell me it was on body cam or something."
Oh, I'm sure it was.
I gotta see this footage,
dude. I gotta get that footage. I didn't even think of that. Man, I'm gonna have to do a FOIA request.
So how is he coping with this? Is he gonna be listening to some of Vinnie Montez comedy, or will he be partaking in some libations this weekend?
Probably taking some libations. What are you going to be drinking this weekend?
Well, I'm a whiskey bourbon guy, right?
That's what I thought, bro. That's right there with you.
But I got this. I have it right here. Actually, I got this really cool mug from my friends over at Proforce. If you look carefully, it's hard to see. But on one side, it's a Proforce law enforcement logo. On the other side, it's the Glocktoberfest logo. So they give this mug away every October. So from October 1 through October, the last day of October, 30th, 31st, I forget. If you purchase a Glock, and by the way, Proforce is one of our local blue ribbon dealers, Glock dealers in Southern California. Anyway, so if you go to the Brea store, you purchase a Glock, average price of a Glock's like $400, which with inflation and everything, that's one of the guarantees in life. A Glock is always going to be about $400. You get this mug for free, and a lot of collectors wait intentionally for October to come so they can buy their Glock at Proforce so they can get one of these collector mugs. So this is my first one. Yeah, I wish I had known. I'm not one of those guys that buys a gun every month like my co-host Kristen's husband Danny, the tactical churro. He buys a gun like every month. But
does he tell his wife, or is it done? Because I got friends that buy guns, but they don't tell their wives.
No, it's one of those.
Like,
have you seen that video? They gave it to me. What do you mean they gave it to me?
Yeah.
I don't know. They gave it to me. Well, that's exactly what
why you always do everything with a Latino accent, bro?
Look at I'm darker than you are, bro.
Bro, no, you're not, bro. Oh, maybe.
Hey, calmate, way. Listen, you don't know my heritage. Okay, what's my last name, fool?
Choe.
Yeah. Where do you think the term cholo came from?
You've said that before many a time.
I put the cho in cholo.
What's up, cholo?
I had that one set up.
But yeah, bro. I can see it a mile away.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I'll probably be drinking my favorite summertime beverage, which is Blue Moon, which is like a orange Hefeweizen. Have you ever had Blue Moon?
Yeah, it comes from Colorado. It's from Colorado, bro.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It originated at like the Coors Field, the Blue Moon place right there. Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. So I love Blue Moon. That's my summer drink.
It's a little orange. Do you put the orange on there?
I put a little bit of orange in there, a whole orange wedge, sometimes two, and then I'll put this. Maybe I'll do the whole orange with this.
Dude, you can put a whole orange in that thing.
Yeah, this mug is huge. But currently my fridge outside is stocked, and they made this new health conscious version of Blue Moon called Blue Moon Sky. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's their
I haven't seen that.
It's like their Michelob Ultra version, lower carbs. But man, very tasty. Stick that orange in there, you don't even know the difference.
I tell you, man, I like.
How about you?
Good. I like that. What is it called? Summer Shanty.
Oh yeah, Summer Shanty.
It's got like a
Ligon Kugu or
yeah, I can never.
Kugel.
Yeah, you say it. I can't say it. It's got that lemony taste to it. Yes. I like that, especially when it's really hot. Like, but that can go down way. Yeah, that can go way too smooth. Like if you're a hot day and you're out there drinking them, like mowing the lawn or something, you don't know nothing about mowing no lawns, but I'm sure.
So you're in the mountainous areas. I guess that's a Boulder area of Colorado, right?
Yeah. So Boulder sits in the valley, right at the foothills, right at the base of the mountains. If you look west, it's just all the Rocky Mountains, and Boulder is known for those flat irons, those giant rocks that are at an angle going straight up the side of the mountain. So very nice. I
haven't spent much time in Colorado. Northern Colorado is where I usually visit. when I go on vacations with my family and stuff. But I've never been in the city like Boulder, Denver, or anything like that. My wife was just in Denver with her sisters a couple weeks ago on a sisters trip reunion. They were on stupid little rental scooters getting drunk, but no, she stayed right across from the Rocky Stadium in that little downtown area.
Oh yeah, Lodo.
Yeah, I guess the train stops right there and it picks you up at the airport, drops you off at that downtown area. She never had to rent a car or anything. It was awesome.
Yeah, they've really made that nice where you can take the train from the airport, and they call that area Lodo, which stands for Lower Downtown. And there's all kinds of restaurants, and I mean, then Central Station's right there, which connects all the trains throughout Denver. So it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay. Well, she suggested in October, that's our wedding anniversary, that we go back together. So I might be doing that. So
well, Oktoberfest, they hold that downtown. Since you're talking about Glock, and Glocktoberfest, if you come down here in October, I don't know how to speak German. I can't even get a German accent.
German is easy, my friend.
German is easy.
Just you have to pull out your inner Arnold. It's so easy. It's so simple. A baby can do it.
But I always go to a Russian. I can always do a Russian accent. I'm like,
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Vinnie. Хорошо.
Oh my gosh, you sound like a drunk Vinny. You just sound like Vinny, but drunk.
Do I? Oh my gosh. Yeah. But you should come out, man. Oktoberfest is the bomb. You think that's a big mug? You should see those Steins, those glass mugs that they have for Oktoberfest. You'll get your fill, bro.
I'll definitely be going. Yeah, I've kind of, as I've gotten older, not that I can't handle the alcohol content in beer. I just can't handle beer anymore. It's too filling.
It's too voluminous.
Yeah, voluminous. I drink 2 beers and I'm full and I'm gassy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can get the same results from a double brandy bourbon or whiskey and scotch. That's where I live these days.
But I've kind of become, it is less filling, and it's just easier to, when you're ready to go to sleep, it's just easier to go to sleep. You're not making so many trips to the bathroom. But I become like a whiskey snob. Like I enjoy like a big chunk of ice or a sphere. Yeah. Everywhere I go, I'm like, do you have a sphere? My better half's like, what's wrong with you? Can you just order a whiskey like a regular person? I'm like, do you have a sphere?
Don't worry. Like one day you'll grow some hairs on your chest and you'll drink it neat.
Drink it. I can't do it, bro. I'm not gonna be that.
You will.
Look, you're you. I'm me. I'm gonna be honest about what I am. I can't. I don't think I'll ever be able to do it.
You can't call yourself a whiskey snob. You're a whiskey rookie. I'm just giving you a hard time. There are people. Actually, the water. The reason you ice it is because it releases a controlled amount of water. And so even whiskey snobs, whiskey tasters, they'll have a droplet and a little eye dropper.
They have a little eyedropper. Yeah, I've seen that.
They'll put a little bit of water in there because it actually blooms the essence of the whiskey as you consume it. Because when you taste whiskey, you taste it with multiple senses, not just your tongue, not just taste, but it's also smell. And it's in your eyes, that little dark brown color that comes out of that bottle as it gurgles. Oh, it's gurgling your ears. That's another sense. And hits that glass. Tasty.
What about the viscosity as it swirls around the glass?
Yes, the viscosity.
I'm gonna take your word for it. The reason I'm gonna take your word for it. We've been friends for a while now. I believe you're very studious. I mean, you're Asian, and so I believe that you're.
I was just gonna say, was that an Asian joke, bro?
It was an Asian joke, bro. I'm gonna take it because right away you got real serious and technical on me.
Yes.
So I'm just, you can bring the cholo into it. I'm gonna bring the education side into it.
We should actually. So our good friends over at Cocktails and Cocktails. That's Sean Larkin. Sean Larkin. He was one of the guys on Live PD.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know that. I don't know him though.
Okay, he's a really good guy, down to earth guy. He's also a whiskey connoisseur. So he has a podcast called Cocktails and Cocktails, and during their show, when they bring their guest on, they all consume a drink together. And,
that's good.
So they go around the table talking about what their drink is. So you and I should do an episode where you bring your favorite drink of the day or month, whatever you're drinking at the time, and I'll drink mine, and we'll discuss the legs.
We should. What would you pick though? I tell you what I pick right out of the gate. I pick an old fashioned. I don't know what it is about an old fashioned, but made right. I love old fashions.
Yeah, I love old fashions too. And we actually have a distillery here in the city I live in called Towns End Distillery. Very nice. I mean, they got their copper still from Germany. Very nice restaurant, but they make several variations of an old fashioned. And the one I like is the smoked old fashioned. Take an orange peel, put it on a cedar plank, and then take a torch to it. Now it's the plank is burning as well as the rind. They'll stick that in, cover it so that the smoke is kind of envelops the smokiness, that complements the smokiness of the bourbon. Oh, it's so good. But I'll probably be drinking something just not mixed. My wife bought me a Whistle Pig 10-year single barrel for Father's Day that I still haven't touched. I haven't opened it yet. I've got if you come to my bar, I've got about 20 different bottles and probably only 3 or 4 of them are open right now because I'm one of those guys that likes to collect bottles. Kind of like baseball cards. Oh, Whistle Pig just came out with this 10-year and I got to get this. And then I have my everyday bourbons I go to, right? So I'll pop these ones out for special occasions because they go bad. After you pop the top, you got about a year before you drink it. And there's no way I'm going to go through all this stuff. But anyways, this turned into a drinking episode. We're definitely.
Yeah, man. I was like wondering if we need to go schedule a meeting or something.
Yeah, no, I know.
You mean like, hi, I'm Vinny.
But no, these are some of the topics that are realities in our profession, right?
Yeah.
We talk about the jokes that we make, and people say that we're dark humor, but it really is. It's our level of humor. And then we talk about sometimes taking the edge off by drinking, and then we're talking about alcohol, and then we're alcoholics. It's not the case. Yes, are there people like that in our profession that go over the edge and to the extreme? Absolutely. But if you look at any profession, I remember looking back. We had this teacher in one of my elementary schools that was probably blowing a 2.0 every time she came into class. So it's every profession. You always hear about doctors that come into work drunk. And I would say you don't hear a lot of those stories in law enforcement that make the news. No. But they keep
every so often.
Yeah, but they're behind closed doors, right? There are instances where officers aren't proud of their actions and they keep those behind closed doors, just like anything else. But how have you do a lot of comedy, real comedy outside at the major comedy clubs that the public goes to, but you also do comedy shows that benefit law enforcement organizations as well, right?
Yeah, I do that. And then I do a lot of corporate events, from narcotics officers conferences to, I just did one for the National School Resource Officers Association. That was 1,500 cops. So all over the place. And
how is that different though, when you have an audience that's all cops? Because I'm sure they've heard all your jokes before, as opposed to the public who have probably never heard these jokes before.
Well, I tell a lot of stories about real life situations that I experienced, so that changes it up a little bit. Like they don't know those stories, but the other part about it is I think it's unique. There are other cops that do comedy, but there's just a handful of us, and some of us do it a lot broader than the others do. And probably what's most important is like what people can relate to is the vernacular that we use. So if I go into a club, I can't use like, "Hey, I was in the field when I was in the FTO." They don't understand that. But when I'm doing a show that's all law enforcement, I use our vernacular. I use the way we communicate with each other, and people can really get behind that. It's people go see things that they can relate to. And when they see the things that I'm talking about, I hear those, it brings up stories that they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember when you, Todd, you and I were doing that. We were chasing that guy or whatever." So it's really good to see that. And when I really start pushing the dark humor, I was very scared. I do the show that talks about a guy basically decapitating himself and then like poking fun at that situation with just the cops on scene. And I was very worried at the beginning that people were going to judge me as being like insensitive. But the people who follow me and watch me, they were like, "Gosh, this guy totally gets it. He understands that." And he's bringing to light something that we don't get to share very often with the public. And the other side that I saw was people were saying like, "Wow, I never really thought that that's what the cops would have to be dealing with. They just, think that they don't realize everything we're doing behind the scenes." And then when I go to the public and I share these stories with public shows and clubs, it's the opposite, where I get people be like, "Wow, I've never met a funny cop before." And they're like, that's the number one question I get asked after a show in a public setting. "Are you really a cop?" Because they don't have a connotation in their head that cops are going to be have this kind of ability of humor. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'm a very funny guy.
Yeah,
I just work hard at I just work hard at the stand-up part of it. But there are some people, and you know them, Aram, like I work with these guys, my boss, my division chief, he is so quick-witted. If I leave anything out there, he's got to come back just to
Right.
snap me off. And we work with these people every day, and they're so quick-witted.
But
I wish sometimes.
But you're willing to do it. You're willing to stick your neck out there,
Yeah.
and risk it all. I mean, you expect laughs, but just like a lot of performers, you're not always going to get them. Sometimes you be in a room with a tough crowd, and you stick your neck out there in the name of law enforcement. You're humanizing your profession and in a way that is unique to other. I mean, how many social media influencers are there that are cops, right? TikTok cops, dancing cops, cop canine. But you're doing something that very few of us in our profession are willing to do. And you travel from state to state. I follow you on social media, so I know how busy you are. In addition to a very productive professional career in law enforcement, you've elevated to the rank of commander. But you still, and folks, for those listening, it's not a small town PD that Vinnie works for. Vinnie works for a very large agency, and he's elevated to the rank of commander there. But you've done it in a way that's still very balanced. I don't look at Vinnie and go, he's just so stressed out. Vincent, you need to come home right now and just relax. You do it in such a controlled way.
So when it first started, it wasn't controlled. When I got into stand-up comedy, it was not to be this guy traveling all over the country. It was simply to deal with my mental health issues. 2008 was a big year. I lost a kid in the field, and that was a culmination of not dealing with my mental health from the age of 14. I remember being 16 years old as a cadet explorer, and first dead body I ever rolled on, and that's not normal. But I remember going home thinking, oh yeah, I've been there, and I took it as this badge of honor. And truly, it's probably one of the worst things that could have ever happened to me. But you don't know that when you're young, and you don't have many of those experiences that are causing you trauma. But over time, not talking about things, bottling it up. I mean, when I got into law enforcement in the early 90s as an explorer, nobody was talking mental health. And certainly when I became a cop in 98, nobody was talking mental health. We're now talking mental health, and it's only come because a lot of things that have happened with people and losing people. I am blessed to be able to share these things with people. You're right. I do stick my neck out. And any comic who says they have never had a bad set in front of a crowd, they're absolutely lying. Right. They really have never done this enough to understand it. And I have had sets where I'm like, geez, can this end any longer? I've got 45 minutes left to go. And you're out there and you're alone. But what helps me press through is the fact that it took me a long time to acknowledge this. And this is the second podcast that I brought this up on, and I haven't spoke to this before. And I'm going to be very open and honest with you, Aram. I've been struggling for a long time, and only in the last couple of years have I really come to terms with the fact that I've always thought that I wasn't good enough. I've always thought that even though I've ascended through the ranks and I've been able to serve as a narcotics supervisor and a DUI officer, a detective, a narcotics detective, narcotics sergeant, I always thought that, I was never good enough, and that was kind of fake. And I can't remember what people used the term recently where you feel like you are going to get found out. You're like a fake. There's some wording for it. But
imposter.
An imposter syndrome. That's what it is. It's called imposter syndrome. Like, how do you get to this? And like, am I really good enough? And I don't know. Well, I do know part of the reason. We can't get into that. My therapist will be like, wow. And I'm very open to the fact that I see a mental health counselor, but just not a regular one. They're a law enforcement clinician on a regular basis, just for checkups. And the fact that I'm still here and you feel like I've got it all together, that's good, because it's taken 15 years in comedy to get to this level. And it was all done originally to kind of balance me out. My whole life existed when I was a young officer about being a cop. I lost 2 relationships. I was engaged when I was younger. I've been with the same lady now for well over a decade, and we're doing well. But I didn't have it together, Aram. I didn't. I was in a really bad space in 2008, and comedy saved my life. Not that I was ever suicidal, but that I was just in a bad space. And so to be able to bring people laughter and to be able to do what I'm doing now, I am humbled and strictly honored to be able to do it and represent what I represent.
Yeah, I think that's why you and I get along so well. I mean, right off the bat, we got along as soon as we were introduced to each other. And I think we see that in each other. People that go through adversity and struggles in their lives, it's not like we wear that as a badge of honor, but we have that, we have something in us in the way we express ourselves, or I don't know, the way we maybe have we'll carry it on our sleeves, right? Our emotions, and we recognize each other. We see each other. We're like kind of like 2 warriors out in the battlefield. They look at each other. Oh, this guy's seasoned. They can size each other up. And in a way, people that have gone through what you have gone through and what I have gone through, we pretty much have sized each other up and can say, hey, he's my people. And in a lot of ways, we can relate because I went through similar tragedy. I lost my parents in very
Right.
tragic ways, and I coped with it through comedy. I made a couple funny videos on social media. People laughed at it, and when I found out that they were laughing at it, it made me feel better. I'm like, oh, and it took my mind, and then I just went with it. And I was fortunate enough to meet our mutual friends who are
Yeah.
big on social media, Mike the Cop and Officer Daniels, who saw humor and value in what I was doing, and they promoted that stuff too, and I blew up, and the rest is history. But here I am. I think I've evolved from that. I don't put out comedy videos like I used to. Just I'm in a different place in my life now where I think what's happening, the public perception of law enforcement kind of calls for more of an educational representative of law enforcement. And I feel like I fit that mold really well. And so that's what I pivoted towards. That's just where I'm at. And besides the fact that I'm not funny anymore, there's so many people out there doing a much better job than me. So I'll just give it to them. People like you. I'll just let you guys handle the comedy side of it.
I'd love to still do a video with you, brother.
We will. We'll definitely get to that one day. I do need to do a reprisal of my funny side, but people have really found a liking to my recent series of videos where it's police history. It's little stuff that I do. People say, "Oh, he did a minute-long video." Blah blah blah. These minute-long videos get 200,000 views because I did the research for them. It's a week-long effort too. I do research all week long just to find questions that cops don't have the answers to. If you're on this job any amount of time, you'll usually learn the answers along the way. But
Right.
after 2.5 decades on this job, there were some questions I still had no answers to, and that was my mission to do that. And that's where I'm at today. So, where do you see yourself pivoting from to when this whole comedy thing is over, or do you always see yourself pushing comedy?
So we were getting ready. I think comedy will be with me for the rest of my life as long as I'm able to do it. I just get so much of a rush, and I think that one of the reasons we stay in law enforcement is because we like to be in that action, that mode. And I get the equivalent from comedy, but it doesn't require me to do all that other stuff that I got to do,
Right.
Because being a cop, like people think, oh, you just show up and go to work. I mean, like there's a rigorous training schedule that you're always trying to keep up with, the hours you work, coming in for whatever comes up, especially when you're a supervisor like we are, there's always something, right? And comedy, I feel like my schedule is not as tight. Like when I'm off, I'm just writing or I'm traveling to do comedy. It's not like stressful. I enjoy it. I feed off of people, man. I love it. I think comedy will be with me for the rest of my career. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be active in law enforcement. We were supposed to film my second special in October, but I pushed
special?
that special.
What
comedy special?
No, you just said you said something before special. I thought
my second special.
Oh, dude, bro, I swear, and you're gonna listen back at this. I heard my sex special.
Oh, sorry. I did not enunciate.
I had no idea that was the kind of comedy you were doing on the side. Wow.
No, my second comedy special.
Got it. Okay.
We were going to film it in October, and I have had to push that back. My brother's really struggling with cancer right now, and so we're rallying around him, and he's got some stuff coming up. But I'm excited to get the new material out.
Yeah.
And I can just see myself doing the comedy stuff and maybe being a reserve on the side. I don't know, but probably not. So I think when I go, I'm going to go.
I think that's going to be me too, man. At some point you have to let the job go. You can always enjoy it as a retiree. But yeah, I don't know if I can do the reserve thing. What's your brother's name?
My brother's name is Ben. Yeah, Ben? He's 3 years younger than me. Yep.
Well, Ben, if you're listening to this episode, I want you to know that we are supporting you. Those of us listening, a lot of us are prayer warriors, and we're going to be praying for you. I have a personal friend, one of my best friends, who I've known since I was 14, struggling also, and his name is Ben. So I'm right there with you, brother.
Wow.
I don't have any siblings, and he was like a big brother to me. He is a big brother to me. He's my chief, actually.
Wow.
But we were best friends growing up. We're still best friends today, and he's been out of work for about a month now, dealing with his cancer, and So when I just learned that your brother's name is Ben, what are the chances?
Right. What are the chances?
Yeah, but God puts people together for a reason. I know I'm in your life for a reason, and you're in my life for a reason. And whether that's just to encourage each other,
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is. But maybe there's a bigger plan. But I always have this feeling every time I talk to you that there's more and more that we have in common. That I think there's a bigger plan for the both of us. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where that goes. But Ben, if you're listening, we're praying for you, brother, and we want you to be encouraged. Good things happen from adversity. If you look at our lives, for example, we faced a lot of adversity, and the thing about it is, nothing good ever happens in life from people that have had it easy. They have some sort of flaw. They have a character flaw of some sort, or some sort of flaw in life. But for those that embrace the adversity they face because of the education we received from it, those are the people that I consider my people. And I think that's why if you look at everybody on my contacts list that are favorited, it's people that I consider my people. We all kind of walk the same walk.
Yeah, tragedy. People. I mean, it's tragic when things happen that are not good, but the lessons you take from them. I mean, we deal with tragedy every day, right?
Yeah.
And over the course of the last 10 years, we've had floods and fires and all kinds of stuff, and we've come out of it stronger and more experienced. And I think California's in that same boat right now. I don't know if you've had any fires you've worked, but if I don't work another fire my entire career, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I've worked a couple. I mean, Southern California is not only the pursuit capital of the world; it's the brush fire capital of the world, and we get our share for sure. As a matter of fact, we're fighting 3 major fires right now in 3 different counties, all next to each other. But the smoke air quality is horrible right now. Thankfully, we're getting some rain, which is rare right now, but we're getting some thunderstorms over the next few days, and that should help things. So all you firefighters and first responders and cops out there that are working, our prayers and thoughts go out to you. But
and thanks, Aram, for saying such kind things for my brother. I'll make sure he sees that part or listens to the podcast just for that reason alone. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the empathy in us, right? I mean, we know that that's appreciated or that would be appreciated because we would appreciate it ourselves. And how do we know? Because we've gone through it. And how do you be an empathetic person unless you've gone through? And one of the hallmarks of leadership is empathy. It's the least talked about characteristic of leadership. A lot of people talk about I'm confident, I've experienced, but you know what? To me, all that is whatever. A leader is a true leader when the troops rally behind that person. And the reason why they rally behind that person is because of empathy. They can relate.
Yes.
If you cannot relate, you cannot be a leader.
Being nice. I got to tell you, but I think that ties into empathy.
Yeah.
Where you're nice to people. I mean, you probably remember this. I'm not trying to date you by any means, but Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. It may sound weird, but I swear, for every shift, the people that work, I'm responsible for all the night shifts, both sides of the week. And I have 3 rules if you work on one of the shifts. It's very simple. Rule number 1, be nice. And until it's time to not be nice. And I always go back to Patrick Swayze, like, you'll know when it's unequivocally time to not be nice.
Yeah.
Take care of the men and women to your left and your right. And the 3rd rule is don't get yourself so far in that I can't get you out. And all that means is if you get to a point and discretionary time allows, and you have time to ask a question and you don't know what you're doing, you're shooting from the hip, don't stop, ask somebody so we can help each other out so we don't have to go down that road and then try to backtrack once we've made a bad decision. But empathy, I think, is tied into all that, being empathetic to understand your limitations, be nice to people, to try to put yourself in their shoes, again, to be nice. So I could not agree with you more when you say empathy is something that is,
and it catches
catches
people off guard. I mean, the public off guard. They see us and we have this tremendous amount of power. We have this shiny uniform, weapons, whatever. We exude authority, right?
Yeah.
And they expect us to be not so nice.
Unless you're dealing with a raccoon.
Right. What was a raccoon's name? Did you ever name him?
I don't know. I'm gonna see if there was body worn camera footage because apparently this was a 45-minute ordeal. I'm not even joking, bro. This is
Well, whoever that young officer is, if he is listening, Our heart goes out to you. It's not. I can't say I've ever put down a raccoon. So yeah, there's no. I can't. Dude, you've done one of the hardest things in law enforcement, which is putting down a raccoon. Good job.
Don't you guys put down stuff all the time? I mean, we do. We have deer that get hit by cars. We got to put them down because they're suffering.
You came to my city where I worked at. Does it look like we have? We had tacos at King Taco in the city I worked
By the
at.
way, bro, thank you for taking me there. I will never forget that. Like, I was like,
man.
"What's King Taco? Like, what is this place?"
Oh my gosh, you can't name a place
so
Taco
good, bro.
unless it's really good. It's the king.
But it was really good, bro. I actually felt like I was part of my own culture while I was there. I was like, because where I live, not saying anything against the people where I live or anything like that, but we're not as diverse as we might want to be.
Really?
You know, we always talk about being diverse and stuff, and we are. People are very understanding, but yeah, bro.
I
like
get
when
what
you
you're
go down
saying.
the street and you could see like lawyers' names are like Gonzalez. I mean, that's not what you see here where I live and work.
Right. Yeah, we're very. I would say half of our audience is Southern California, so they're like, "What are they talking about, dude?" But the other half is national. So actually, dude, not to plug or pat myself in the back, but our show since January has been an international hit. We're in the top 100 in Europe, in countries like Cyprus and Estonia, and in Canada. So I don't know how we've broken those barriers, but international. But anyways, for our national and international audience, if you've never been to Southern California or the greater Los Angeles, Orange County, San Bernardino, Riverside County area, you just don't know what we're talking about. You just don't like my family, we're a mixed family, right? I'm Asian, my wife is white, my kids are mixed. Dime a dozen out here. Dime a dozen. My wife's family lives in Mississippi, in the South, Mississippi, Tennessee, Louisiana. So we go there every year for Thanksgiving, and every year we try to take in that Southern experience because that's new to me. You know, I'm a California boy. So we walked into this Waffle House because that's apparently the thing you do when you go to the South, right? And this was
I love Waffle House
in Walls, Mississippi, or it was Walls, Mississippi, Horn Lake. I don't know. I believe never mind. It was Walls, Mississippi. It was a Waffle House. We go in, and just like out of the movies, the jukebox record player scratch, plates, knives, and forks drop, and everybody stares at us. We're like, did we just come into deliverance? Are we in the wrong part of town? And the server comes up to us and says, "Hey, don't mind any attention to them. Come sit down." So they sit us at a table. I'm like, "Are we dressed funny or what's the deal?" And she's like, "No, they just never seen a family like yours." And I'm looking around and I kind of nod my head over at the other family over there. They're a mixed family too, black and white. And I'm like, "What's up with that then?" And they're all, "Oh, they're a dime a dozen out here, but we don't see Asian and white families out here together." I said, "Oh," and it didn't click on me. It didn't click.
Why didn't you at least give them the Mexican hello, bro?
I know, right? No, I think that would have been way overwhelming.
No.
But the thing is we take what we have for granted, and where we're comfortable with. And in Southern California, if you've never been here, we're a melting pot. We have so many diverse cultures, so many mixed families that like things that, you know, who are big rivals right now. Ukraine and Russia, they don't get along in those nations, but in America, chances are you have a Ukrainian and Russian married couple. You know, it's or Palestine and Israel, they wouldn't get along over there in the Gaza Strip, but over here in America, they're married. It's crazy how much of a melting pot we are here.
I do agree with that, man. I that's why I was saying I felt very comfortable there. I felt like it was just much more. Not that I feel uncomfortable where I'm at, but it's just a whole different cultural exposure going to Southern California than being in Boulder, Colorado. I mean, like, I'm not hating to say anything. It just is what it is, you know. It's predominantly white culture, even though they hail themselves to be the bastion of cultural diversity. It's really not.
Well, they treat aliens very well, because I remember back in the 80s, there was this alien named Mork who visited from the.
Oh yeah, that's right, Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, and they were in Boulder. That was one of my favorite shows growing up.
Nano.
It's great show, and I remember
that was one of my favorite comedians. Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed away with his own hand, but man, Robin Williams was amazing, dude. Did you ever see any of his stand-up comedy?
Yes. It was very violent, very animated. Very
Dude, I
handsome.
think I'm animated when I perform, but like he is like on a different level, and everybody would think that he was just popping off the top of his head, but it wasn't. It was all written material, but he was just so good at perfecting that ability to make it feel that way. And like I would be tired after watching a segment of his.
Well, you weren't amplified by cocaine, so so many of those great comics in the 80s, like Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, very physical comedians.
Yeah.
They were hopped up on coke. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
Who is your favorite? Who's your favorite
comedian?
Yeah.
A little known police comedian named Vinnie Montez.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. Yeah.
One of these days when I get my Netflix special, I'm gonna be like, I want to give a shout out to my boy Aram. I'll be doing a lot of shout outs, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
He likes his whiskey neat. And he's not big on killing raccoons.
Growing up, you and I probably had a lot of the same comedians growing up. But lately, I find myself being attracted to comedians that I can relate to, like Jim Gaffigan. He's one of my favorite ones. He's a family comic.
He's a family guy, yeah.
Yeah, and and some of the things he jokes about, I swear, you'd only get if you're a dad, right?
Yeah.
And or a married person, because he talks a lot about his relationship as being a lazy husband. I can relate to that. And then there's this new wave of comics that are coming out of left field. They're Asian comics. I can't remember their names to save my life right now, but there's a lot of Netflix specials right now.
Yeah.
And there's a couple good up and coming Asian comics. And I get that because I grew up in an Asian home. I'm like, that's exactly what happened. Like Joe Coy. There we go.
Do you like Joe Coy? Oh, I was just going to ask. Have you seen the one where he breaks out the different nationalities and how they talk? And
he's spot on. And that's the thing, man. Growing up in Southern California, it's exactly right. Because I grew up, a lot of outside people that are not Asian are like, oh, you're all Asian, same accent. No. Koreans have a different accent. Japanese have a different. Vietnamese.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know it too, because if you ever had your nails done, the people that talk like this, the Vietnamese, way different. Way different. So
introduced me to that Angela Johnson. She does a
great routine.
She does that great routine. Like she'd probably get canceled if it was doing it today, but it came out so long ago. But do you like Bert Kreischer? I think you'd probably like him. He talks about being the machine, going to Russia and joining the mob. Oh, if you haven't watched that, you should watch Bert Kreischer. Type in The Machine. It's one of the best stories, but he's a very family-oriented guy as well. You'd probably really enjoy him. No, man, I think you're right. There's a lot of new people coming up and out. My goal is to have a Netflix special, if not a full. We have been privileged enough to have a special, and it's on Amazon and stuff, and I'm always like, yay! But man,
there's this other comedian I was listening to. We'll go back to your special in a minute, but Dimitri Martin.
Yeah, Dimitri. I think it is Dimitri Martin.
Yeah, he does this dry, unassuming, innocent comedy. He plays guitar. He comes up with these witty lyrics. But yeah, he gets me
Dimitri
rolling.
Martin.
Yeah, he gets me rolling every time. But let's talk about your special. Where are people going to be able to see your special?
They can watch it on Amazon. They can watch it on Drybar. You can listen to it on Spotify. It's called Vinnie Montez, Armed and Hilarious. And then we're getting ready to. Well, we were going to film it in October. We talked about, but it's going to be pushed back, and I'll let everybody know when it comes out. We film that, but yeah, man, I've been really humbled by it. After the first one, it just comedy exploded for me, and I've been able to perform all over these places. I for everybody listening, if this is the first time you've ever heard me talking in general and you're annoyed by it, I'm sorry, but I am funny on stage. Check me out. But I just want to say for those people who have heard me before and those that are new fans, thank you so much, because I could not do this without you. I mean, really, entertainers are nobody without their fans. And I also want to say thank you to Aram, and he alluded to other people earlier, Mike the Cop and Officer Daniels. And Officer Daniels, especially for me, because he's the one that brought me into the group that you and I are affiliated with. And I have a true belief that you don't get anywhere in life without people helping you out. And the friendships that we've built have been awesome. And I just can't say enough about the collaboration and just the good feeling I get when I'm around these groups of people. And Aram, from the moment I met you, and then you solidified it when you took me to King Taco when I stopped by. I just think the world of you, and I really appreciate what you're doing. You always talk about the spiritual message. You're such a good person when it comes to being a family man. And I've not only seen that in, online, but also in person. We got to share a night. We went to a wedding together and watched you and your wife engage together, and just that solidarity that you represent is not something that is just you're putting out for people to think that's the way it is. That's exactly who you are. You do the cannonball run, and tell me if I'm saying that wrong. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Cannonball Memorial Run. Yeah.
Cannonball Memorial Run every year, and you do that to honor the people, to help benefit them, and the people that go and do that with you. They're all of nothing but heart, and there's a lot of good things that happen with you. And I just cannot say enough. It sounds corny. Sometimes people are, oh my gosh, I don't care. You tell the people the way you feel, and people judge me for that. I don't care. I'll always tell people what I feel and think. And I am a sentimental guy, and I'm not ashamed to say that. But I think the world of you, man. I just appreciate you having me on your podcast, but also just thank you all for the work you're doing to just humanize the badge on your side, because there's so much negative out there, and just see the things that you're doing and sharing the education and showing where you came from. And I do that too, where I take old pictures and post them sometimes,
Yes.
just for people to see, like, look, if you stick with it, this is where you can, move to. And a lot of people respond to that. So thank you for what you're doing, brother. I just want to share that with you.
I appreciate that. It's completely unnecessary, but thank you so much. That means a lot for me, especially coming from a guy like you.
Would have been nice to talk to Kristen today, but I see that she's got other things to do.
Kristen definitely wanted to be a part of this episode. We rescheduled this one several times. We're supposed to have you on years ago, and then again last year, and then just a testament to how busy you are too. And so
I think it was like, you're like, let's see if this guy is actually legitimate in a couple of years, and if he is, then we'll bring him back on.
Well, I mean, yeah, we do vet people that we bring on. We don't bring on everybody. I mean, I have access to a lot of people. As you know, my network is huge, and I have a lot of celebrity people that follow me too. And most recently, Chuck Liddell followed me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I thought it was a fluke when he followed me on Facebook, because a lot of people stumble across my page on Facebook. But then when he also followed me on Instagram, it solidified things. And then we messaged each other, and we talked about the podcast too. But I told him, hey, not so fast there, Iceman. We have a vetting process. I got to monitor your activity for a little while before we bring you on. I'm kidding. No, a lot of times it's the schedules work out, and a lot of times they don't, right? And right now where I'm at, I'm very, very busy. Trying to promote and trying to get to the next rank too. And so I'm spending a lot of time at work, and my family, they're at the age where they're very impressionable and pivotal. And, my daughter just turned 17, and my youngest daughter's 10. And I've got 2 boys in between that are teenagers full of raging hormones. So I got to place some responsibility at home too. And so unfortunately, what we used to do is record multiple episodes a week. And now we're recording them and putting them out. And just
you know what's really good, like one of the things I admire about you, because I've told you all this good stuff, let me tell you some of what I really admire about you. There's so much you include with your family. Like, you guys go out, I don't know what it is with you people, but you and Eric and his wife, you like to go out into the middle of these deserts and stuff. God knows why. I don't even know.
There's no raccoons out there.
I'm not a camping guy. Like, me roughing it is like a Holiday Inn Express, right? But you guys like to do that stuff. You like to go out into nature, but it's not just like ever you and your wife or just you. It is your family.
Yeah.
And that is so awesome, bro. Like, to me, that communicates to me you're very balanced, and you really, you put the family first. And I love seeing that. And I think people, that's why I think you enjoy Jim Gaffigan, is because like the family is the priority, right? And the reason I bring that up, and I just want to share this with the listeners, is like, that's where I screwed up. I wasn't balanced in my younger years, my former years of being a cop. I was very unbalanced, and I end up losing a lot of those opportunities to have those relationships solidify. And I can't tell people how important it is to really have that balance. And I am nobody to preach. I never tell anybody this is what you have to do. Right. I share my mistakes. People can take what they want from them, but that one thing that you do, brother, spending that time with the family and always putting them first, like you got to know how great that is. And it's such a good example for people, not only that are in law enforcement, but outside of law enforcement as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It comes from a genuine place, because I didn't have that growing up. I admire the individual people in my family, like my grandfather. I had some good moments with my dad, not great. I didn't have a great relationship with him. He was an absent father for most of my life. And when things were getting good, it was when I had my own kids, and he decided to kind of be involved again and be a grandfather, because I'm an only child. These were his only chance for grandchildren. And, and then selfishly, he took his own life. And that took me by surprise because I'm like, dude, he's got a new lease on life. And all of a sudden, bam, he's gone. So yeah, I have a lot of resentment towards my father, but the one good thing I did learn from my father is the one thing he liked to do was go fishing, and he liked to go camping. So that's what we did. As a matter of fact, he has this national parks book from Reader's Digest. I have now, but he had that, and his goal was before I turned 18 to hit every national park across the country, and we hit a lot of them on the west side, all the way to Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Wyoming, Montana. We hit a lot of those national parks. So when he died, I found that book, and so that's where I'm picking up where he left off with my family.
Are you trying to pick with your family? You're trying to pick up where you left off?
Yeah, we're not.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we're not hitting all the ones across the country. It's just impossible. But we're hitting as much as we can, and yeah, every year we go out there and we're doing multiple trips, and people, how do you do these, but they're intentional. They're not last minute, like, hey, we should go to like Yellowstone. No, these are intentional. We plan them. So that's the advice I would give to some families out there, and it what helps balancing things is planning. Thank goodness for iPhone calendars, because my wife and I have synced calendars, and then we do a lot of things with Kristen and their family. So we actually sync our calendars together so we can plan our next trips, because our families started hanging out on accident. We both happened to be in Utah at the same time. We saw each other's posts on Facebook. We're like, dude, we're at the Riverwalk together. Let's do this. Our kids got along, and we were always reluctant to introduce my wife to Kristen and Kristen to my wife, because they both have very strong personalities.
Yeah.
And it was just a great experiment, but they got along, and they still do.
Wow.
So, which is just rare, right? To have.
Is Kristen your work wife, basically?
No, Danny's my work wife.
Danny's your work wife?
Yeah, pretty much. But Kristen, Kristen is my work spy.
Yeah.
If I do anything wrong at work, Liz knows before I even realize anybody else knows. So
wow.
But it's good to have that accountability, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so much accountability at work that can go astray. Like when I was dieting, my wife was my accountability partner, and I'm like, oh, I can get away with having this donut. She'll never know I'm at work. I sniffed that box, and all of a sudden I get a text message. Oh yeah, you forget there's cameras everywhere, and dispatch is watching you, and one of my best friends is timing you off right now. I'm like, I just smelled it. Stay away from that temptation. So yeah, no, it's worked out for the last decade, and it works out both ways too. I call Danny and Kristen out too. So, but thank you for taking notice. We don't do it to get notice, but it's nice when people do notice the effort that we make as a family, because it does take effort. It's not easy.
No.
I remember like right after we had our third kid, we were living in a 900 square foot house that was falling apart. It was built in 1922 and needed major repairs. And just life happened, right? We couldn't keep up with the repairs. We're having back-to-back kids. And this was number 3. We have 4 kids. This was number 3. The economy sucked. I lost my bonus position at work because of curtailment of budget. I had to pick up a second job. I worked security. And you know how demeaning that is for somebody that's a sworn law enforcement officer.
Police officer to go work
security. I had to go work security at Dodger Stadium and get mustard, hot dogs, beer thrown out. I worked harder at the stadium than I did at my real job as a cop.
Yeah.
And but I did that for my family, and I'm glad I did, because my wife knew what kind of man I was. She knew that when we were going to face hard times, I was going to be the provider still. I told her if I had to, I would flip burgers in the middle of the night at McDonald's just to make ends meet. And I mean that to this day. I will, because I think I can flip burgers, but that'll only last a month before they recognize I have leadership ability, and I can run the shift. And I can run the shift. I can run the store. I can run the store. I can run the region. I mean, that's just the kind of guy I am. And I always say it takes one to know one. So it's a testament to your character, Vinny. When you recognize these qualities in me, you have those same qualities in you. We're just different circumstances. It doesn't mean that you can't do these things. It's just different times. It doesn't mean you have to do them in the same timeline. It's just going to happen at a different time for you. And for you, your both careers are blooming. It just may have to be one of those things where you have to wait till one of those careers decides to finish.
And I think that, you bring that up. That's the hardest part for me right now, is being able to just step away from this job, because I've known this life
since you were a teenager,
since I was 14 years old. Yeah. And I don't think I'll miss the work. I'll miss the people, but a lot of those people now are gone that I grew up with, because people retire and age out. But man, when I finally leave, it's a big step. Like I'll no longer be able to be like, hey, you come over here. Nope, stop. Come over here. I won't be able to take any action. I'll be like, hi.
Do you get a take-home car?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things that you get practice with early, because I say a take-home car is practice for retirement, because you're forced to put your blinders on. At least I am.
Oh yeah.
I want to get home. I don't want to stop. I want to get home.
I don't know that I'm not a good example of that, bro. I'm not a good example of that. I don't think anybody, if they were listening to my agency, would be like, I always worry that I'll pass something that I could have stopped and helped with. Like the other night, that's no joke. I see this kid. He's on the major highway. He's on the side of the road. Flashers on. I'm like, all right. So I pull over. And he's just staring at the back tire. And I walk up. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, I think I got a flat tire. And I look over the side. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm calling roadside assistance. I'm like, bro, it's like an 18 or 19-year-old kid. I'm like, it's gonna. I don't know what it's like in California, but it takes 2 hours for them to get there, if not more.
Right.
So I was like, bro, we can change this in 15 minutes. And I said, you got a spare tire? And he's like, I think so. And I'm like, oh God. So I did the dad moment. I don't have kids, but I've had tons of cadets and be in charge of our Explorer program. So I walked him through it and I made him do all the work, because I was like, you're a lot more spry than I am. And kids don't know the things that we were taught at a young age. And it surprises me. So I walked him through it. He was going to lift the car up before he broke the lug nuts. And I was like, no, break the lug nuts. Otherwise the tire's just going to spin. But I helped him change the tire. Okay. And then he was like, thanks. He was on his way. And I'm like, don't do over 55 on that tire. It's just a donut. But that's the empathy that you were talking about earlier. Coming back to that full circle. What if that was your kid, Aram, and they were on the side of the road, right? That's taking that moment. I know, put the blinders on. My guys always say it. They're like, come here. You stop somebody and they end up being DUI and I got to come take it. But like, look at this situation where it was this 18-year-old kid. I was able to help him get,
Is your car marked? Does it look like a police car?
It's a Ford, one of those Ford Explorers. Yeah. It's all white. No markings.
No marking. Okay. Yeah. So mine's a Ford also, but it's not marked. It just has it lights up like a Christmas